What's up, guys? So we are back with another video. So I'm going to be talking about the exhaust system for the RX8 using the LS. I'm going to talk about 3 different exhaust header options that I've offered. So we're going to start from the smallest to the largest options right now that I've confirmed fitment for the car with my kit. So the CX Racing long tubes I offered for a very long time. I have since pulled them off of the website here recently after finding some more information on them. So the CX Racing headers, long story short, I've ordered for myself. I've put them on 4 different cars personally. So I have used several sets. Every time we would make power, go to the dyno, it would always show really low numbers. People at where we were getting it tuned at, they were like, "Don't worry about the numbers" and stuff like that. But I was always baffled at we put so many different combinations together that should have made much more power than it did, and because not very many have gotten on the dyno. And nobody's actually had, exhaust here versus there. So I never really understood why we weren't getting the numbers that we were. So we were getting, I had cammed LS1 with CNC'd heads, fast 102 intake. The car made 396 to the tire. This is a setup that should have easily gotten to 450 to the tire. And I was just baffled. And at first, they were saying, oh, it could be the differential gear ratio that's hiding power and stuff. And we were like, okay, maybe so. Anyway, so we kept going. And now, 5 years later, I have found out that the primaries on the CX Racings are 1 5/8. If you're not familiar, these are extremely small runners. So there are a couple flaws with the CX Racing that I've noticed over the years. I'm going to talk about a couple. So one thing is they are extremely easy to get in and out of the car. They really did do a very good job of making them fit into the car. However, there was problems with the spark plug wires melting the headers would melt the spark plug wires. We would go through spark plug wires like crazy. We ended up using the ceramic ones. That kind of cured that problem. We'd never really had much problems after that. They do have a 3-inch collector though, so this kind of gives you a false sensation that they work, but because of how small these primaries are, they are robbing you of power. Another thing about these headers is they only work with a manual transmission. So that was another issue. I like the 6L80 transmission. It might not be the best transmission, but it's the one that I really like to use. And so I actually bought a set of CX Racing headers, chopped them up to where I could make them fit for my 6L80, and a cam, intake, tune, 150 shot, made 474 wheel horsepower. Again, I was told it could have been that it's probably the gearing because I had the Mazda diff with that, and it only trapped 127. If you put that in a Camaro, it would have trapped higher than that because they use a larger exhaust. They use larger primaries, and that is what I have come to find out. And it's taken a long time, but now we have now created an alternative to that. So these are the flaws in these headers. Like I said, the CX Racings was a great option that they did. They really helped out a lot of us because I really did like long tube headers. And they were the first ones to come out with them that really were ideally to be able to buy. So I'm not dogging CX Racing. I'm a dealer for them. I think they have a lot of great products, but this particular one is definitely subpar. They could have definitely done a lot better on it, but you can't be the best at everything, and sometimes that's just not your focus. So, I don't doubt that they could make a quality header. This particular one that they're selling is not, which is why we have decided to no longer offer the header on our website. and we have pulled it off. So what we have gone to as an alternative is we are selling the shorties, which is an 1/8 of an inch larger on every primary. To give you an idea of how much bigger that is, that's a full inch in diameter difference when you go across all 8 runners. So although it does only have a 2 1/4 inch collector, I don't have any power numbers of what this header can do. This is something that we will be working on in the future. But so this header is a shorty manifold. It's extremely easy to install. You can easily use any transmission you want with it, and it's a really good cheap alternative to where if you're just not wanting to spend all that much money right now and you're on a budget build, and later you can afford to do it, because I know when you're building these cars from scratch, it's very difficult to spend all of the money at once. So this header is a very good alternative to be able to not spend, $600-700 on exhaust for the header. So this one I think is $175 on the website, which just makes it very easy to get that so that you can get the car running, and it's still going to do pretty decent. So lastly, we have been working on getting my own headers for a very long time due to the issues that I have had with this header. Like I said, CX Racing I think is a great company. I'm not dogging them at all, but this, like I said, this product is not as good as it should have been. But anyway, if they had done better, I wouldn't be making my own, it was a really fun journey to be able to make this happen. I never thought that I would ever be able to do this, so now it has pushed me to be able to make my own header. So all of the flaws that the CX Racing headers had is what I was going to fix. So what I decided to do is I found a friend of mine that could draw in 3D, and I handed him the CX Racing headers that I had modified to fit my transmission. I told him, here's the headers, I need you to use this as a reference point, but if you go and look at the headers, they are nothing alike. I went about fixing it was just a reference point, because I had to adjust the headers 4 times because there was just so many authorizations to it. But we fixed the spark plug issues, we fixed the runner size issues, and we fixed the issue with it will now work with any transmission that you put in there. If you have an external bell housing that is larger than the factory GM, that it may interfere with, but as far as any factory GM transmission, it does not have any kind of clearance issues with them. So, and then also I use the C6 engine mounts, so I also needed to alter the header to help fit around the C6 mount, which did have to be heavily altered with the CX Racing mount. I have had to do a little bit of shaving on one of them, but it was just, if I had moved it any further, it was going to make it even more difficult to install. So my headers that I have made, they are a good bit more difficult to install than the CX Racing, but that's because they are significantly larger. So you're talking, the header difference between this is 2 inches between all of the runners, because you're talking about 2/8 of an inch diameter larger on every single runner, which makes up 2 inches of additional flow. So these are some headers that I'm going to be very excited to be able to show their power numbers difference, and I'm going to compare them to all 3 of these on the same car, the same dyno, and we're going to swap all 3, because I want to know, for me, because I like data, I want to see what am I paying for. Like whenever you're on a video game, you get to see how much horsepower is it for how many dollars. I want to see that number. So that is something that I'm always very excited to show, and is very important to me, because I like to know how much power, how many dollars is it for horsepower. But anyway, I have made a little video to show you some other differences and a visual of the difference between these 2 headers. But for those of you that may have sounded like I copied CX Racing's headers, I didn't. I just used it as a reference. So they are significantly different, and you can only change a header so much. I mean, it's got 4 runners on each side. You can only make it in so many different shapes. But anyway, so here's that video, and then we will be wrapping up the video after that. All right, so here's CX Racing's headers temperature. Go over to the ls1rx8.com headers. Wonder which one's better. Difference in runner size. So right here with this one, I can go almost to where my fingernail starts, and this one I can't even touch it at all. So that is the size difference and the temperature. I was very surprised about the temperature difference. Whenever my buddy was over there, we had built this car several years back, and we used the CX Racing headers, and I noticed that his engine bay was just super hot. And I was just like, man, mine isn't nearly that hot. I mean, I can go run the car like crazy, put my hand on the hood, and it is nothing. I mean, I think the hottest temperature I could measure on it was 100 degrees, and it was right over the radiator. So these headers that I've made, the runner thickness is extremely thick. So I use the same thickness material that all of the big name brand headers use, like American Racing headers and stuff like that. I did not make this header cheap. I wanted a good product, because one is I'm using it. Every product that I make, I don't push it or sell it if I'm not willing to use it. I'm making all of these products for me, kind of selfish, but you just get to benefit off of my expectations of what I want in a car. So I hope this helps, and hopefully you can. This will help you choose on what you need to do. I mean, you don't have to buy products from me. I mean, I made these as an option to make things better and easier for y'all. So if you choose not to, that's up with y'all. But I really appreciate all y'all's support, and that wraps up the video for today.